They say every building has a story, but some have memories, and some memories refuse to fade. Alex moved into flat number 309 on a foggy Sunday morning. A quiet apartment, modern furniture, perfect location, and the rent was unbelievably low. Too low. I should have known then. Cheap things always come with hidden costs. And this one came with screams. The building looked tired, like it had seen too much. Peeling walls, broken mailboxes, a silence so heavy you could hear your own heartbeat. The caretaker, an old man named Yusuf, handed him the keys. His hands were trembling. "Flat 309, he said. "It's been empty a long time. If you hear knocking at night, don't answer." Alex laughed awkwardly. He thought it was just superstition. But that night, Alex learned how serious he was. Alex unpacked his things and sat near the window outside. Fog wrapped around the city like a ghost's breath. At 2:43 a.m., he heard it. Knock, 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 slow, deliberate. From the inside of the wall behind my bed, I froze. His coffee cup trembled in his hand. Maybe it was just pipes. All buildings make noises, right? Then, again, 3 knocks from the other side of the room. He pressed his ear against the wall, and through the plaster he heard a voice, faint, childlike, and cold. "You're late." The next morning, he barely slept. He went down the corridor, knocking on neighbors' doors. Most didn't answer, except one. A middle-aged woman cracked her door open, her eyes sunken, face pale. When he mentioned flat 309, she stepped back instantly. "That flat's cursed," she whispered. "No one stays longer than a week." The last tenant vanished. They found his bed soaked in salt water. Salt water in the middle of the city. That night, Alex decided to record everything. Just his phone on record, beside the bed. At 3:09 a.m., he woke to the sound of wet footsteps, dragging, heavy, coming from the ceiling above me. The bulb flickered, and the air grew thick with the smell of seawater. He held his breath, then the voice came again, whispering right beside his ear, "Downstairs now." He looked up and saw it. Something crawled across the ceiling, its limbs bent backwards, head turning the wrong way. It was dripping water. Seaweed stuck to its hair. He couldn't scream. He just froze and watched as it vanished into the wall. At dawn, he went straight to Yusuf. He looked at him with tired, fearful eyes. "You shouldn't have taken that flat," he said softly. This building wasn't always apartments. It was a hospital once. Room 309 used to be the morgue. He paused, voice trembling. The fire destroyed everything except that room. They found the drowned victims there. No one ever claimed their bodies. Alex's stomach turned cold. Drowned victims. Salt water. He had to know more. He had to see it for himself. At the end of the hall, he noticed something strange. A wooden door, nailed shut, barely visible behind the paint. On top of it, faded numbers. 309A. He pried the nails loose with a screwdriver. Behind it was a narrow passage. Cold, damp, and the smell of the ocean, unmistakable. The walls were covered in wet handprints, tiny ones, as if children had tried to claw their way out. At the center of the passage stood an old, cracked mirror. It was fogged and filthy. He wiped it clean. For a second, he saw himself. And then, someone else behind him. A woman, her face pale, swollen, lips blue, water dripping from her hair. He turned around, but there was no one there. When he looked back at the mirror, the reflection was still smiling. He ran back to his room, slamming the door. But everything was wrong. The walls were breathing. literally expanding and contracting like lungs. When he reached for the door handle, it was wet, the entire floor soaked, and when he opened the door, the hallway outside was flooded, water rising from below, floating objects drifting through, photographs, toys, bones, and there, at the far end, he saw her. The drowned woman walking toward him, feet not touching the ground, eyes black and hollow. Every step she took left puddles of salt water behind. Her voice echoed through the corridor. "You took my place." Alex stumbled backward, heart pounding, as shadows began forming around him. Dozens of them, men, women, children, all dripping wet, faces empty, their mouths moving in unison. "Join us! Join us! Join us!" The walls burst open, releasing waves of icy water. He was sinking, drowning, inside his own apartment. He tried to scream, but salt water filled his lungs. Then everything went dark. The next morning, Yusuf knocked on his door. No answer. He unlocked it, slowly stepping inside. The room was quiet. No sign of Alex. Only the bed, soaked in salt water, and on the wall, scratched with something sharp, flat 309, now available. They say some apartments are never truly empty. Some tenants never really leave. If you ever find a flat that's too cheap to be true, check the walls, because some places are still waiting for the next heartbeat, waiting for someone new to take their place.
Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe our channel for more interesting stories.